Day after Super Bowl 59. What did we learn in this year's Super Bowl? Chiefs versus Eagles is that the trenches are absolutely important. Arizona Cardinals have an opportunity to upgrade one of the most important position groups on the defensive side of the ball. Multiple rumors and speculation about Josh Sweat hitting the free agency market. Will the Arizona Cardinals go after a big top tier name? Let's dive right into why the Arizona Cardinals should sign Josh Sweat in this year's free agency class. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. Alright, everybody, let's go and dive right into it. Let's talk about all the latest rumors and speculation about potentially Josh Sweat hitting the open market in this year's free agency class, and maybe why he might be linked to the Arizona Cardinals. And seeing Josh Sweat play in this year's Super Bowl, it almost kind of got me to the idea that, man, yes, the Arizona Cardinals need to absolutely upgrade that defensive line, and it starts with potentially landing Josh Sweat in this year's free agency class. Now, let's dive right into this here real quick, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it's any surprise that if you ask an average Cardinal fan, you would expect for them to say one of their biggest needs, or what the Cardinals should do with that 16th overall pick in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft, is that they need to address the trenches, right? Primarily on the defensive side of the ball. Now, there's some people out there saying that the Cardinals could potentially go on the trenches still, but on the offensive side of the ball as well. So I think what we can all kind of come to an understanding is that the Cardinals need to go trenches, primarily defense, but people won't be mad if we go for the offensive side of the ball. But let's talk about the defense here real quick. I don't think it's any surprise that the Cardinals are in dire need of some sort of pass rush in this year's offseason, whether that's coming through the draft or through this year's free agency class. Now, I'm one of those guys that the Cardinals feel like they need a double dip to get all the talent they possibly can to help out the defensive line. I'm completely 110% okay with that. As of right now, where the Cardinals are standing with their guys in terms of their top edge rushers, it's Zaven Collins and BJ Ojulari. Now, I do like BJ Ojulari coming out of the draft in the second round a couple years back, but he hasn't been available to play for the Cardinals, unfortunately. Now, I'm hoping that in year 3, he's going to be able to stay healthy, and he's going to show why he was a second round pick to the Cardinals. Fingers crossed, but as of right now, we still do not know exactly how he's going to turn out or how his career is going to turn out. Now, we also did use the 27th overall pick in this last draft, in the 2024 draft, which was our second first-round pick to draft Darius Robinson. There's still a lot of unknown when it comes down to Darius Robinson, and then, of course, we also got one of our late-round picks in Dante Stills. Now, of course, we got a lot more depth players and rotational guys, but our best edge rusher right now arguably is probably BJ Ojulari, and we don't know exactly what he's going to look like or if he's going to be able to stay healthy. So what this tells me is that the Cardinals need to go full-fledged, guns a-blazing. We need to address that defensive line, edge as well as the interior. Now, there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors out there saying that Josh Sweat could be linked over to the Arizona Cardinals for multiple different reasons. A, the Cardinals need or are in dire need of an edge rusher, and then B, the connection between Jonathan Gannon. When Jonathan Gannon was the defensive coordinator in Philly, why not reunite him back with Jonathan Gannon? And of course, that would be a dream made in heaven for the Cardinals to potentially do something like that. Now, the way that Josh Sweat in the regular season ended off the 2024 season was 27 solo tackles, 8 sacks, and he actually had a pretty darn good season for himself. Now, in the Super Bowl, it only kind of re-emphasized as to why he's probably going to be one of the most highly coveted defensive linemen in this year's free agency class. He had himself a game versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, can you also say that that defensive line for the Eagles are all really good players? Absolutely, right? The defensive line for the Eagles and what Howie Roseman has built over there, all those Georgia Bulldogs, is nothing short of spectacular. He did a fantastic job, but I feel like the Cardinals can very well use a piece of what was built over there, because like I said before, Josh Sweat had himself a game versus Kansas City. He had 6 total tackles, 2 solo tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 quarterback hits. Josh Sweat was absolutely magnificent versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said before, he is just a piece to that absolutely nasty defensive line, an absolutely nasty defense just in general. But man, I would love the idea of bringing in a Josh Sweat to be that number one guy for the Arizona Cardinals as an X factor. As a closer, the Cardinals are in dire need of somebody like that. Now, like I said before, a lot of speculations, a lot of rumors, and a lot of this would make sense if the Cardinals were to go this route. Now, I want to go ahead and just kind of quote a specific tweet that I ended up seeing here on X/Twitter from Chad Forbes, and I believe it's just a guy with, strong NFL opinions. He ended up coming out with this tweet, which I absolutely agree with, and it says this: Cardinals will be all over Josh Sweat in free agency. Reunites with Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis. No better fit in free agency. Last offseason, general manager Monty Ossenfort went bargain hunting at the D tackle with Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols. Didn't work. Time to go big game hunting. I absolutely love it. I agree. I feel like the Cardinals right now are standing somewhere around the $71-73 million range in terms of cap space, and one of the top teams with the most amount of cap space heading into this year's 2025 free agency class. So I really hope that the Cardinals can get one of those big time, high caliber guys that's going to be making a staple point on this defensive side of the ball, right? Now, if Trey McBride, which I hope he does get extended, of course, that $73 million is going to fall a lot lower than what we have going in. But the Arizona Cardinals need to address that edge rushing core, and it starts with Josh Sweat. Now, if we go after Josh Sweat, can the Cardinals use that 16th overall spot to potentially land themselves a dog in the interior defensive lineman, or even double down and getting an edge rusher? Absolutely. Like I said before, I love B.J. Ojulari as a second-round pick, but the best ability is availability, and he's not been able to stay healthy throughout the small sample size that we've seen from his career being an Arizona Cardinal. I know he's got the intangibles. I know he's got the ability to be the best pass rusher the Arizona Cardinals have right now on their roster, but we just haven't been able to see him be healthy at all. So do I want the Cardinals to potentially land themselves a Mike Green, or maybe even a Michael Williams, or heck, maybe even a James Pierce Jr.? Absolutely. I feel like if the Arizona Cardinals have an opportunity to upgrade that defensive line, this is the year to do so. This is probably one of the best defensive line classes we've seen coming out of college in a very long time, and I'm talking about the interior as well as the edge. So if the Cardinals get themselves a Josh Sweat, don't stop there. We need all the help we absolutely can. Get yourself either a Michael Williams, James Pierce Jr., or heck, maybe even a Mike Green. And I feel like the Cardinals can absolutely do wonders in the defensive line. I've been one of those guys that feel like the Arizona Cardinals defense has actually played very, very well with the pieces that we actually have on this roster. Give Nick Rallis, give Jonathan Gannon a name out there, and a guy that's an absolute dog/stud. This defense can definitely go places. So like we were averaging at one point 2 takeaways, 2 to 3 sacks a game, and that's with who we have on this roster. The guys that probably are more rotational guys more than anything, right? We can use an upgraded edge. We can use an upgrade in the interior defensive line. This is the time where the Arizona Cardinals need to go after and upgrade that defensive line. And for me, I feel like it starts with signing Josh Sweat. Now, what is he going to covet, right? It's going to be pretty darn expensive. He's probably going to be one of the top tier free agent guys that are going to get paid. I know maybe teams like the Lions, heck, maybe even the Commanders would want his services, and it really just kind of depends on the right situation for Josh Sweat. Does he feel like the Cardinals are going to be a defense away from making the playoffs or making a playoff run? Potentially, right? But this is the opportunity for Josh Sweat to come out here and, covet a big check, right? The last year he was actually under contract for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was actually getting paid $8 million. That's not very much money. So what is Josh Sweat going to get paid? Honestly, he's probably going to get paid pretty darn handsomely, and that's the fact that he's probably one of the best edge rushers if he does hit the open market. Probably going to fall somewhere on the range of the $25 million mark to maybe $31, maybe even $32 million range. I don't think he's going to hit, Nick Bosa type of numbers, but he's definitely going to be a guy that's probably going to have a lot of teams bidding for his services. Now, do I want the Cardinals to go after him? Absolutely, especially if we can go under $30 million, maybe $28 million a year. But this is probably a guy that's going to want maybe a 3 to 4 year deal, and the Cardinals have the cap space to do something like that. But what are your thoughts? Do you see enough from Josh Sweat to absolutely elevate this Arizona Cardinal defensive line? Let me know in the comments below. I feel like he's my number one target that the Cardinals need to go after in this year's free agency class. I get it. It's expensive, right? And some might say this is not a a Monty Ossenfort move, but at the end of the day, you got to pull the trigger. You got to go outside of the bargain bin mindset and go after hey, we need to go into the playoffs. Hey, we need to win a playoff game. And you got to get those big names out there that show that they can produce in a NFL type of level, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts overall on Josh Sweat? Do you feel like he's your number one option here heading into the 2025 free agency class? Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.